From the depths of bureaucracy to a highly resourceful German law agency that's made a name for itself in hunting down the demons of Germany's past. Investigators at the Special Prosecutor's Office in Ludwigsburg have led Germany's drive to hunt down surviving Nazi war criminals. In their tireless efforts, they can rely on massive archives, and now they've come up with new leads pointing to a Nazi perpetrator accused of being a guard at the Treblinka concentration camp and personally responsible for the murder of thousands of Jews. Ivan Demjanjuk fought a prolonged legal battle to stay in the United States, but US judges rebuffed his appeal, and now German prosecutors hope that Demjanjuk, who's 88, will finally face justice in a German court, like others before him.
It's never too late to bring a criminal to justice. For half a century, Germany's Special Prosecutor's Office in Ludwigsburg has been tracking down Nazi war criminals like Friedrich Engel and Josef Schwamberger and making them stand trial. Their latest case is Ivan Demjanjuk, also known as John Demjanjuk. Investigators now have enough evidence to prosecute him in Germany. He won't be spared trial due to his age, since he's said to have shown his victims no mercy.
I've heard perpetrators testify that what happened wasn't right and that the Jews shouldn't have been murdered, but I've never heard one say, "I'm sorry for what I've done."
63 years after the end of the Second World War, their crimes have not been forgotten. The public prosecutors in Ludwigsburg are still tracking down these mass murderers. They search archives around the world, speak with witnesses, and record everything for posterity. Each case is meticulously documented and filed on a total of 1.6 million index cards.
This is the heart of our office. It's where all the information about perpetrators, crime scenes, and even witnesses is recorded on index cards.
Prosecutors here have pressed charges against more than 100,000 Nazi perpetrators. At first, they met with great resistance in Germany and elsewhere.
At the time, people wanted to put this chapter of history behind them, not just in Germany, but throughout Western Europe and in the US too. The war had been over for 13 years and the major war criminals had been convicted. People said the war ended 13 years ago. Enough's enough. There were people here in Ludwigsburg who called us traitors.
But the public prosecutors continued investigating. Spectacular cases like the Auschwitz trials of the 1960s followed. Until then, the defendants had been living in West Germany. But many war criminals had fled abroad, like Josef Schwamberger. An SS commander of several forced labor camps in occupied Poland, he organized mass executions of Jewish prisoners. Investigators finally tracked him down in Argentina in 1987 after the West German government offered a $300,000 reward. Kurt Schrimm interrogated the former camp commandant for 6 days.
Schwamberger was a man who wouldn't admit to anything. He explained that yes, he was the ghetto commandant, but that no one was killed by him or with his knowledge. I confronted him with the fact that 150 witnesses said differently. He said it had to be a conspiracy.
Schwamberger was sentenced to life imprisonment on multiple charges of murder and accessory to murder. Kurt Schrimm took over the directorship of the Special Investigation Office in the year 2000. At the time, no one really believed there'd be any more big successes. Nazi crimes were at least 55 years old, and many of the perpetrators, victims and witnesses long dead.
When I began here in the year 2000, the office only had one computer. All the other employees still worked, just as they did when the agency was founded in 1958. It was clear to me we needed modern technology to work more efficiently.
Kurt Schrimm breathed new life into the old office. The investment in new technology seems to have paid off. Now investigators can finally prosecute one of the most wanted Nazi war criminals, Ivan Demjanjuk.
The preliminary investigations are finished, and we believe we can prove that he was involved in the murder of several thousand people at the Sobibor concentration camp in 1943.
Demjanjuk has already stood trial in Jerusalem for war crimes committed at the Treblinka extermination camp. He was sentenced to death, but his conviction was later overturned due to reasonable doubt about his identity. Now Schrimm and his team believe they can provide sufficient evidence of Demjanjuk's evil doings at Sobibor. They're using the now 88-year-old's identity papers.
Here we have a photo of the elder Demjanjuk taken in 1988. And here we have a passport photo of the younger man, who was 23 at the time. Now, thanks to modern technology, it's possible to superimpose these photos on each other, so we can ascertain that this person has the same eyebrows, the same nose, the same mouth.
The case of Ivan John Demjanjuk proves that even 63 years after the end of World War II, Ludwigsburg's public prosecutors still have work to do.
There's still much to be explained, and there are still people alive, and there are cases which have yet to be solved.
Kurt Schrimm has only recently been allowed access to secret Nazi files in Argentina. He's sure the Demjanjuk case won't be his last.